If you want a story of slow, cold patience turned into sudden, impossible violence, you want the story of the sniper rifle. From muddy trenches and frozen forests to glass towers in cities and desert ridgelines, sniper rifles have been the quiet hand that changes battles. We'll start where everything became modern, World War II, then chase the changes that made today's rifle surgical, modular, and terrifyingly accurate at absurd ranges. World War II olive green evolution, 1939 to 1945. World War II was the proving ground. The sniper rifle of 1939 was still a dressy bolt action, full-length, heavy-barrel iron sights, and a man who knew how to be patient. The iconic platforms were largely improved service rifles fitted with optics. The Mauser 98, the Mosin-Nagant, the Lee-Enfield, the Springfield. These bolt guns gave snipers something priceless in that era: predictable, repeatable accuracy and the ability to deliver a single decisive shot. What changed in World War II wasn't the action so much as the role. Snipers became tactical weapons. They were used for counter-sniper work, for decapitation of command nodes, and for psychological warfare. A single sniper could collapse morale. That pushed armies to outfit service rifles with scopes, to experiment with cheek risers, adjustable sights, and better mounts. But remember, most of these systems were still manual, bolt action, human spotter, and long waits between shots. From bolt to gas, early post-war shifts, 1946 to the 1960s. After World War II, the big shift was thinking differently about rate of fire and integration with the squad. Semi-automatic rifles and select-fire battle rifles matured into serious platforms. The Soviet Dragunov SVD, designed in the late 1950s and fielded in the 1960s, is the classic expression of that shift. Purpose-built as a semi-automatic designated marksman rifle, a weapon to extend the reach of a rifle squad without replacing bolt-action precision entirely. It bridged the gap between line infantry and dedicated sharpshooters, giving a unit quick follow-ups and credible range. Across the Atlantic, Western armies experimented with semi-autos for precision tasks too. The idea was practical. Wars were becoming faster, mobile, and full of short windows where a second or third shot could decide life or death. The rise of the long-range anti-material rifle, 1970s and 1990s. If the sniper rifle is a scalpel, then the anti-material rifle is a sledgehammer. Beginning in a serious way in the 1970s and exploding in the 80s and 90s, manufacturers began chambering huge, purpose-built rifles in 50 BMG. The Barrett M82, an American-born recoil monster, is the most famous example. Designed in the 1980s and seeing wide combat use by the Gulf War era, it let small teams disassemble engines, electronics, light armor, or simply put holes in things from impossible distances. The M82 pushed doctrine. Snipers could now deny terrain by damaging material, not just popping people. But the 50s also demanded new thinking: heavy mounts, different optics, recoil mitigation, and logistics for massive cartridges. Not a precision rifle for the lightweight stalker, but a strategic tool. The caliber gap, entry of 338S, 1980s-2000s. Through the late Cold War and into the post-Cold War fights, shooters and militaries noticed a gap. The 7.62 by 51mm NATO was reliable but ran out of lethal and accurate range for some missions. The 50 BMG was overkill for many sniper tasks. The solution? The 338 Lapua Magnum and its brethren. Developed in the 1980s and standardized by the late 80s, 338 Lapua gave shooters magazine-fed precision out to and beyond 1,500 meters with better terminal performance than the 7.62. That cartridge led to rifles being purpose-built to deliver magnum hits without the bulk of a 50. Development of the 338 Lapua was a watershed for modern sniper doctrine because it made truly practical extreme-range precision widely available. Modularity, multi-caliber, and the PSR era, 1990s to 2010s. By the 1990s to 2000s, the rifle itself began to change shape. No longer was a sniper rifle a single monolithic object handed down from armorer to operator. Manufacturers started offering modular switch-barrel systems, chassis platforms, and adjustable stocks. The battlefield needed rifles that could be reconfigured to mission, change barrel length, change caliber, change the stock geometry. That demand birthed a generation of rifles, heavy, accurate, and built to be customized. Two trends stood out: Number 1, semi-automatic precision rifles for rapid engagement, e.g. SR-25 derivatives, Mk11, M110 families. These were based on AR-10 lineage, giving semi-auto power with match-grade accuracy. Idea being to give snipers faster follow-ups in fluid environments. The US M110 SAS, adopted in the late 2000s, is a direct descendant of this concept, moving from bolt-only thought to faster squad-integrated precision fire. Number 2, modular bolt-action systems and the PSR, precision sniper rifle push. The U.S. Special Operations and NATO partners ran programs to procure rifles that could handle multiple calibers. 7.62, 300 Win Mag, 338 LM with consistent precision. The Remington MSR, which later became the Mk21, and subsequent PSR entrants pushed the state-of-the-art into truly modular families. The PSR competition ultimately emphasized modularity, quick-change barrels, and logistics-ready systems. Digital age, optics, ballistics, computers, and sensors, 2000s to 2020s. In the centuries-old rifle is metal and wood, the 21st century sniper rifle is metal plus data. Modern snipers fight with small computers, handheld weather meters, ballistic solvers, laser rangefinders, and smart scopes that can hold ballistic profiles and account for Coriolis, spin drift, and custom drag curves. Devices like Kestrel ballistic weather meters and phone tablet apps became standard kit by the 2010s. Software integration meant that once expert-only calculations were now reliably reproducible in the field. Adding a wind reading, temperature, altitude, and a ballistic curve can turn a skilled shooter into a machine. This wasn't mere gadgetry, it changed tactics. The sniper team of today can calculate an engagement window for 2,000 meters and know within a narrow margin whether a single round is likely to land where the scope says. That's a sea change. Precision leads, Accuracy International, and the rise of the chassis, 1990s to 2010s. One reason modern rifles feel clinical is chassis design. Accuracy International's AWAX family rewrote expectations for ergonomics, bedding, and environmental resilience. The AWN Arctic Warfare Magnum and the later AX50 and AXMC platforms set standards for cold weather reliability, bedding integrity, and repeatable zero. Things that matter when the difference between a hit and a miss is millimeters at 1,000 meters. These rifle families emphasized consistent barrel harmonics, chassis bedding, and match-grade manufacturing to ensure reliability under campaign conditions. Modern long-range records and the human factor. You've probably seen viral videos, a single round at 2,000 meters. Those moments are spectacles, but they reflect decades of slow engineering, ammo, barrel twist, projectile ballistic coefficient, and shooter discipline. The human remains the limiting factor. Breather timing, posture, trigger press. Modern rifles and electronics give shooters a far higher probability of success. Adoption of 338 Lapua and the precision chassis made extreme range precision a realistic option rather than an exotic experiment. Suppressors reduced signatures in urban tactics, 2000s to 2025. Wars changed. After 2001, urban combat, stability operations, and asymmetric warfare were dominant. That meant snipers needed to be stealthier. Sound suppressors for safety, logistics, and reduced signature. Thermal and night optics and subsonic, near-subsonic ammo for close urban work became critical. Systems were integrated. A suppressor with subsonic rounds, a thermal sight for night, and a ballistic solver for variable ranges. The sniper team became an intelligence node, not just a shooter. The rifle evolved to be quieter, shorter, and more modular, more like a tool in a kit than a single-purpose artifact. Anti-material and longest kill records, 1990s to 2020s. The Barrett M82 and later anti-material rifles let operators do things the classic sniper didn't. Disable electronics, puncture fuel tanks, and ruin optics from range. They also produced the longest published engagement records and a host of one-shot narratives, the kind of footage that goes viral. Anti-material rifles are still specialist tools, heavy, logistic-heavy, and expensive, but their impact on strategy is undeniable. Norms, logistics, in the modern battlefield, 2010s to 2025. Between 2010 and 2025, three parallel trends shaped procurement: standardization and modular procurement. Militaries wanted flexible kits that could be adapted across theaters and calibers, hence PSR and MSR programs. Technology integration. Secure digital systems, precise ammunition, and integrated scopes, ballistic software, and sensors became mission critical. Doctrine changes. Snipers were no longer lone hunters. They were embedded intelligence nodes paired with drones, spotters, and ISR, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance systems for coordinated strikes. The 2010s, MRAD, MRAD-like, and the modern competitors. Rifles like the Barrett MRAD and other modular chassis built for quick caliber swaps became very fashionable. The modular sniper rifle programs like the Remington MSR that won SOCOM's PSR competition in 2013 contracts showed that governments wanted rifles that could be updated rather than replaced. That contract, and the intense testing that followed, was proof that armed services were thinking in systems: rifle, ammo, suppressor, optic, and solver. 2020s, AI, drones, and networked engagements 2020 to 2025. The last 5 years did not produce one single radical rifle. What changed was how rifles are used inside a system. Drones providing overwatch, coordinated network shooters using encrypted comms, and improved remote sensors all amplified sniper lethality. Artificial intelligence-assisted spotters and automated target recognition are burgeoning fields. Expect more automation of target detection and fire control assistance, not replacement of the shooter. The rifle is becoming a precision node within a web of sensors. What matters today and why it fits the mission. So what do you actually get when you buy a modern sniper rifle system in 2025? A chassis that keeps the barrel free and stable, consistent harmonics equals consistent impacts. A cartridge appropriate to the mission, 308-762 for medium ranges, 338 for extended precision, 50 cal for anti-material. Modularity. Swap barrels, change mags, change stocks, change mission. Digital ballistic computing and sensor inputs. Maps, wind, density, altitude, and drag models feed an aiming solution. Suppress low signature options for urban work. The modern sniper rifle is not an immortal hero, it's a system. Accuracy is no longer purely mechanical, it's mechanical plus data, and the shooter's training to use both. Key milestones, quick timeline. World War II, scoped bolt actions adapted from service rifles. Mosin, Mauser, Lee-Enfield, Springfield. 1958 to 1963, Dragunov SVD introduced the designated marksman concept. 1980s to 1990s, 338 Lapua crafted for extreme range. Barrett M82 popularizes 50 anti-material rifles. 1990s to 2000s, SR-25 and semi-automatic precision rifles enter service, and the N110 family adopted by U.S. services. 2010s, PSR modularity push. Remington MSR wins SOCOM PSR contract. 2020s, sensor fusion, drone-assisted targeting, and network sniper teams refine doctrine. The human side, training and ethos. All this tech only increases lethality if the human element holds up. Modern sniper training still focuses on patience, concealment, and environmental reading, but now it also teaches digital literacy, ballistic apps, encrypted comms, and support drone management. Snipers are now tacticians and data operators. The modern sniper is part engineer, part meteorologist, and part quiet killer.